Hi guys, my name is Sergey and I'm the owner of Sergey Green Studio. We provide photography and videography service here in Los Angeles. And today I want to talk about very tricky question, and this is how many people should I invite to my wedding day? How to build the guest list and everything else in between. Before we get started, I just wanted to point that there is no single solution. There is no right or wrong way, and these rules not necessarily apply to your wedding, and it's not like you have to follow all of them. But I'm pretty sure this video would be very helpful for you. We're gonna go through all of the different groups and how you should align them and what you should know before doing some sort of things. And at the end, I'll share my experience, what you, in my opinion, should do overall about the list and how you should build it. And I've done over 500 weddings or so for the past 9 years. So this tips might be very valuable for you. So let's get started from the very beginning. Who should you invite for sure? There is no questions that your parents should be there for sure. The only thing I want to point over here is that sometimes we have two sets of parents. Let's say your parents got divorced and then married again. So in this case, you're gonna have two sets of parents. And sometimes on my weddings, I have two sets of parents for both of them. Over here, you just want to keep in mind what is your family situation, how do they talk with each other, and if you want to put them in one table or separately. When I do group shots, it's always depends, but it's usually absolutely fine. And usually these guys keep in connection with each other. We're all grown people, so we know what to do in this situation. Sometimes, very rarely, these guys don't really want to talk with each other. So again, it would depend on your family situation. Very simple with the immediate family as well. You just invite all of them unless you have some sort of conflict with each other. But if you do, it might be a good place to solve them. Might be a good place to invite these guys to your wedding and maybe just forget about it and move on. The next group is where the complication, I would say, is starting. The extended family group. And over here, you should follow the rule of the one cousin, I would say. What does mean is that if you inviting one cousin, you will have to invite the other one. Because when they find out that one of them was at your wedding, the other wasn't, it will create a weird situation and you want to avoid this. And by the way, about offending people or make them upset about it, general rule, just don't worry about it. It's your wedding. This topic is called how many people should I invite to my wedding. It's your wedding. So don't worry about people getting offended or get upset. It might happen. Some would be upset that they wasn't invited on your wedding. Some would say that they got the wrong table or the food wasn't great or anything like that, or they got into the argument with someone who was at your wedding from your family and they wasn't talking for a long time. So if anyone wants to be upset or offended, they will. There is nothing you can do about it. So just really forget about it. Since we're right over here, let's talk about the children's. And that's a very interesting topic. And I've seen this thing handled differently on my weddings. And in my personal opinion, and again, and you might disagree with me, there is two options how you can do this. You can do adult-only event, meaning you inviting children 12 years old and up. And there is nothing wrong with putting on your invitation the phrase like, you invited to my wedding, we will be very glad to seeing you. It's an adult-only event, so please hire your babysitter, grab the comfortable shoes, and we can't wait to see you. That's absolutely normal way of doing things. The other way is to invite the children to your wedding, and that's if the children is a big part of your family and overall the party. But if you do so, make sure that you first of all set up the playing area for them, so they have a couple of toys to play around, so they're not always next to the tables or the dance floor because they want to hang out with themselves. You want to make sure that you got the separate table with the dessert for them. Probably from what I observed, they just not going to sit there and just eat normal adult food. They want to just grab something, eat it while they're running and while they're playing. So it's just the way it is. We cannot change it, so we just have to follow their wishes, I would say. The other thing, you want to make sure that you have the blankets and pillows and things like that. Again, from my experience, children just playing with all of their energy until like 9-10 p.m. somewhere there, and then they just falling asleep on the chairs or somewhere else. You just want to make sure that they are comfortable, that it's very warm for them, and that's especially true for Malibu weddings and any types of weddings in California pretty much, because when the sun goes down, it's become like very cold, and you want to make sure they are comfortable. And also, if your budget of course allowed that, you can hire the babysitter for your kids, or maybe someone from the family or from your friends just naturally like to hang out with the kids, and they would rather to spend their time playing games with the kids than spending their time on the dance floor. So you might get lucky and you might get this person. But again, my personal opinion from all of the weddings that I've done, from everything that I observed and seen, there is only two ways of doing that. You don't want to leave the kids without the playing area or without the dessert and snacks like that. The next group is your co-workers, friends, and other guys. So what do you do here? For co-workers, and it's also applied to your crowd in the church or the gym, you can go two ways. You can just invite all of them, and that's again if you very close to the people at your church or at your work or at your gym's buddies, and you just cannot see your wedding without them. You just simply invite all of them. But keep in mind that you're going to pay for each and every person, and that's very important. You're paying about $80 to $100 for each and every person. Think about it as you inviting someone to the very nice restaurant and you paying for them. So your time and money should be worth spending your time with the person. You got what I mean. So over here, same thing. If for some reason you want to invite just one single person from your work, let's say you're keeping a close connection with this person but not with the rest of the groups, you can just do that. You can just tell them, hey, we very close to each other, you know that we have a special relationship, we hang out outside of the work, and I want you to invite and I want you to be at my wedding, but I don't necessarily want other people here at work or at the church or at the gym know about it. So let's keep this between you and me, and let's keep the rule that we're not really talking about it while we are in this environment. And it's absolutely normal thing to do. Because you probably don't want your boss to find out that he wasn't invited and someone who you work with wasn't. So what's next? Next is someone who invite you to their wedding. What to do about this, guys? Again, if there's nothing wrong if you don't want to invite them, but usually if you got to their wedding somewhere, it's like 6 months ago or a year ago, it's a good thing to invite them back, to return the favor. Of course, it's what would not apply to the crazy year we had not a while ago, to 2020, but in normal timeline, that's the general rule. Again, if you don't want to invite them, there is nothing wrong of not doing this. Again, don't worry about offending someone. It's absolutely fine. What about plus ones? That's a very common question. Should I allow people to get their plus ones to the wedding? And that would depend on your budget, on your venue, if your venue actually can accommodate all these people, and if your budget can feed all of the plus ones that you might have. But in general, what you want to do, of course, you want to allow this for your wedding party. These guys did tons of job for you on the wedding day and before the wedding. They help you quite a lot. And it's absolutely fine to allow them to get their plus ones to your wedding. Same for immediate family. You just cannot say no to these guys. It's your family, it's your blood, so they have to be there. For the rest of the guys, you can go two ways again. You can say like, there is no plus ones, sorry, our venue only can feed 150 people and our list already full. Or you can set up the rule like only engaged couple or the couple who've been together for about 6 months or so can get their plus ones. And usually someone who getting their plus ones, they kind of aware of this rule or whatever you call it. And that's just because if you're inviting someone who you date with to the wedding, that's already a next step in the relationship, I would say. The next group of people is the friends of your mom, let's call it that way, or it's a friends of your parents. And this one would depend on your specific situation on the wedding or your family relationship. Sometimes in, let's say, Armenian, Indian, or Russian weddings, for example, that's not even a discussion. If your parents want to invite someone, it's not like you sitting down with your parents and talk about this. There is nothing to talk about it. If they want to invite someone, they do. On the American weddings, of course, you can just sit down and talk with your parents unless they paid significant amount for your wedding, or maybe they cover it completely. Well, in this case, they kind of allowed to do anything they want, and I'm pretty sure they would be reasonable with that. But usually you can easily add like 50 to 70 people to your guest list just right from here. Again, you can handle it differently depending on your family dynamic overall. There's a few other tricks that I want to share with you how to organize your invitation list. First of all, you want to do one single list and you want to send it in one time. So you don't want to do a B list or anything like that, because if someone from the B list find out that they are B list, that's another situation to get someone upset. Not that you worry too much about, as I mentioned before, but you don't really want to do that unless you like super organized, or you have the very good wedding planner who can do this for you. But generally, there is no point of doing this really. And you also want to put everything in a spreadsheet. You want to use the Google spreadsheets or something like that. It's probably the best way of organizing this. You also want to put the deadline in your invitation for the response. You don't want to leave the blank space for that and say something like, get back to me, whatever you feel free. You want to make sure that this person obligated to respond to you in about a week or 2 weeks. That's usually enough to reply. And you want to make sure that they log this day in your calendar, and you can actually send them the invitation through the calendar, through the Google Calendar, so their phone will remind them about the wedding and they're going to have it. The other thing, and hear me out right, you want to set up some sort of penalty if they decided not to come. What do I mean by that? You want to mention that their seat is reserved, it's been paid, and it costs pretty significant amount of money, and you will be very excited to have them on your wedding. You want to make this clear. In this case, they cannot really easily cancel on you a couple of weeks before the wedding. Let's say if they forgot about your wedding and they made some other plans, and they will call you like 2 weeks before the wedding and say like, hey, I'm really sorry, a few things came out, usually nothing really happened, and I cannot come. So to avoid that, you want to use the calendar, and you want to set up some sort of penalty, I would say. The other thing, and it's kind of labor intense thing, but you also want to call everyone personally. I know it's going to take a while. I mean, you're going to have like, let's say 150 guests, and each call going to take like 3 minutes or so. Then it's mean that it's going to take you like 6-8 hours to call everyone, but it's really worth it. People will feel the energy from you that you really care about them, and they will take it much more seriously. So if you have time on your hand, and if you don't mind to spend pretty much one working day calling people, do that. It's really worth it. Another thing you have to keep in mind, two things you have to keep in mind. That's very important. As I mentioned before, you can't please everyone. So don't worry about it too much. Just do your best, do the way you see things, the way you just heard it from me. Watch a few other videos, talk with your wedding planner, and just do your best without thinking about it too much that you can offend someone. That you don't want to really worry about it. And the other thing, and unfortunately I heard lots of the stories like that, do not expect that the gifts from your guest will cover your expenses on them. It's usually not the case, like almost 100% it's not the case, maybe except for the Asian weddings, Korean, Taiwanese, Vietnamese weddings, where it's in the culture. The rest of the weddings, it's just probably not going to happen. So always keep in mind that you're going to spend about $100 per guest, and always keep this in mind when you see this name of the person in your list, and then you'll quickly make the decision. Also, actually keep in mind that each group of people add an additional table. You have to rent an additional table, additional sets of plates and everything else, additional centerpiece. And if the list gets extended by a lot, you will have to get another venue, because some of the venues can only accommodate, let's say, like 150 people. And if you have 200, then you will be more limited in terms of the venue, and so on and so forth. But I think overall I clarified quite a lot of things. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer. I think I'm gonna do similar video with my favorite wedding planners to just extendly cover the topic. Again, my name is Sergey, and I'm the owner of Sergey Green Studio. We provide the photography and videography service here in Los Angeles. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next Friday.